I bet your company is using Slack, but have you considered using Slack as a companion app for your next virtual conference? Well, today we get a behind the scenes look at how the event marketing team at Slack used Slack to host a multi-thousand person conference for Slack. Let's check that out. Hey, welcome to Boom. This is a show about the innovation explosion in events and the tech stack. I'm Ben, I'm the CEO of Splash. Splash is event marketing software for your live, your virtual, or your hybrid events. And today we get the download from Matt Taylor, event marketing manager and really event technologist at Slack. Now, Slack, of course, is used by thousands of organizations to streamline communications without email. But did you also know that it can be an incredibly powerful attendee engagement tool for your next virtual conference? It's true. We got Matt to give us a live demo of how Slack set up their workspace. But before we get into that and we get into all the how to do it, let's talk about the if and the why we should do it. Let's talk to one of my favorite event strategists, Dana Paik. Okay, Dana, why should we consider using Slack as a companion app for our next conference?
It's the opportunity to have that in the face of not being able to have those serendipitous moments when you're in line waiting for your drink, when you're riding the bus to the party, when you're walking from breakout session to breakout session. Those moments happen in Slack now. And I think what's tough in a lot of platforms where they have chat, it becomes like a Twitch experience, right? Where it's just this waterfall. And especially as you're growing to bigger numbers, how am I really finding my people within 20,000 or 350,000 of your AWS, right? Like virtual is giving us that reach, but you're losing intimacy.
Okay, got it. So knowing that, would you recommend using Slack instead of, say, like the in-platform chats inside of these virtual conferencing platforms?
I would, if you would have asked me that out of the gates, I would have said no at first, because I just think about the second screen experience and you want to keep everybody in platform. But I have multiple monitors. I have my phone. There are ways that make it really natural, and it doesn't introduce the friction that I thought it would. If there's a way that you can integrate Slack seamlessly into the platform, then that's the land of milk and honey, man.
Wow, okay, great. So in your recent event, what did you do to make sure that Slack really worked for you?
This goes back to intentional design, right? So they had people monitoring and facilitating all those channels, and so it wasn't like you just typing into the void. There was somebody guiding that conversation. They would see that you logged in. Ben, hey, how's it going? How's Brooklyn? Like there was somebody that, they really thought about that welcome experience and made sure that anytime someone commented, somebody from the planning side was commenting back, even if somebody else from the community had also chimed in.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Dana. So now that we understand that Slack is a powerful tool to use for virtual conferences, let's talk about how to set it up. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to set up your workspace, how to promote it to your attendees, how to actually leverage Slack's workflow builder, which is an incredibly powerful automation tool, and how to drive engagement and buzz inside of the Slack lounges. Okay, the first step is to create a Slack workspace, to name it after your event, and then to get the invitation link, which drives people into that workspace. And then your job is to spread the word, to share that link early and often, including it in all of your pre-event comms, including your confirmation messages, your reminder sequence, your welcome note as people check in, and right on your virtual event touch point. So when they check in, they have a big old call to action driving them into that workspace. The next step is to get your attendees really engaged in that Slack workspace. And for that, we're going to need to turn the microphone over to Matt Taylor, event marketing manager at Slack. Matt, can you tell us, how do you do it? How do you get Slack really to work for your event?
We had a virtual event platform that we use called Meeting Play. They're like large scale, distributed functionality that behind each agenda item is the viewing experience. And then each session or each agenda item, each singular item had like a chat window under it, but no like unified place for attendees to connect in a meaningful way. So we've had this request since we started doing Frontiers way back in 2017, South by Southwest. Some of our biggest customers use Slack in varying ways for their events. So we thought, why not the year where we're pushed into this virtual world to bring on Slack in this use case? So we organized our channels in a few different ways. There was like the logistical stuff, like announcements, welcomes, introductions, piping in our Frontiers tweets. And then there was like content-based channels, so letting people find other people who are tuning into the content that they're consuming, and sharing feedback, best practices, questions around that content. And then there's just the fun stuff, right? So attendee lounges for general attendees, our developers, our admins to geek out on what they're building and share best practices. And then also just like the good stuff about going to conferences and connecting with people. Maybe it's those silly little water cooler chats, or kind of catching up and learning about where people are from and what life experiences they have. So we had channels like dogs, cats, where people were sharing like their buddies who are tuning in to the event with them, or social yelling was a big one, which is a trend on the internet where you just talk in all caps and you kind of have this positive attitude. To the point where that took off, where our CMO was like re-syndicating our announcements in all caps in that channel because there was so much good traffic there. So I think there's something to be said about like, sure, orchestrating the core event experience around content, but then also just letting people hang out and get to know one another like you would at an in-person event. So we use Slack in a few different ways to do that. We use some of our apps to connect people around certain topics, or one-on-one to have conversations, and then a place for them to get help. I think everyone's trying to figure out how to attend an event online, so making sure we had our team there to support people through making it all work. Every attendee was added to our default channels. Pinned to every channel, we have, we made sure we had a template of like how to use this channel, what is this channel for, and then any sort of relevant schedule or agenda. So for this channel specifically, we use Workflow Builder, which is a feature of Slack where you can activate a workflow that has a series of either questions, submission box. So you could pick the person you wanted to ask the question to, submit your question, and it would populate in the channel. And that person would then respond. You're able to submit a support request and then get the right people to help you by requesting help, which is really cool. So this is people maybe who had accessing issues on the virtual event platform, didn't know where to find a certain experience that they were hoping to get involved in, etc. We had these lounge channels, so admin, attendee, developer. And when you go in here, we had an app called Donut. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a Slack app built on Slack that does, at its core, it's a pairing application, but you can get introduced to people based on channels that you join. So for our admin community, if you were in there twice during the event, you got paired with another admin and suggested to hop on a quick call to connect, say hello, learn about one another, or have a discussion in DM. Having a tool that unifies other tools that you may already have or were using for in-person, and being able to create your own suite of like tech for a single event, having something that provides a different use case for those tools when you start to bundle them together is super interesting.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm ready to use Slack for pretty much every conference I ever throw for the rest of my life. Are you? Are you gonna use Slack? Be honest. Let us know in the comments if you're planning on leveraging Slack for your next virtual conference, or if you've already used Slack, can you give us some new ideas? Any tips, tricks, or things that really worked for you? Drop those in the comments too. And of course, if you like this video, give it a like, pass it on, share it with an event professional you know, and make sure to tune back in next time as we explore the innovation explosion in events and the tech stack right here on Boom. I'll see y'all next time.